I know what happened to Jose.
What happened to him?
They killed him. I cooked him. And you all ate him.
The film begins with a man named Ryan who has just landed at an airport in a Latin American country. He tries to get a taxi, but every driver turns him down when he offers too little money. Left with no choice, Ryan starts walking until a driver sent to pick him up finds him. On the way, the driver hands Ryan a letter from someone named Jack. In it, Jack explains that he can't meet him right away because of work, but he gives Ryan the access code to his house so he can settle in and rest. When Ryan arrives, he's stunned. Jack's house is massive, beautifully designed, and oddly secluded in the middle of the forest. Inside, Ryan takes a look around, opens a bottle of red wine, and starts cooking while he waits. Soon he hears a car pulling up outside. He rushes to the door, and when Jack steps out, the two embrace instantly. They haven't seen each other in 12 years, and the reunion quickly turns into hours of catching up. It comes out that both men are chefs who first met in a high school culinary course. Ryan admits that his career never went anywhere. He's been stuck working for minimum wage in a roadside diner. Jack, on the other hand, has found success. He tells Ryan that he's now a head chef for an exclusive agency that caters to some of the wealthiest clients in the world. The house they're in wasn't his but a property the agency rented for a private dinner he's preparing the next night. Jack makes more money than Ryan could ever imagine, but his job also comes with secrecy and high pressure. The following day, Jack takes Ryan out in a vintage car he just bought. They stop at a small restaurant where they meet a young woman named Alice. She explains that she used to work a corporate job but quit to travel the world with the savings she's built up. When Jack and Ryan mention their chefs, Alice playfully asks which one is better. Jack, always competitive, invites her to the house for a cooking showdown. Later, Alice tastes both of their dishes and surprisingly declares Ryan the winner, despite Jack's wealth and reputation. Afterward, the three of them eat, swim, and relax. At one point, Jack brings up his watch, which carries a bit of history. It used to belong to Ryan before he lost it to Jack in a bet 15 years earlier. As the night winds down, Alice ends up sleeping with Jack, leaving Ryan quietly brooding over the situation. The next morning, Ryan's past comes crashing back. He receives a threatening message from a man called Rabbit, a loan shark who's been after him for unpaid debts. Ryan's trip wasn't just about reconnecting with Jack. He was also running from collectors who harassed him daily. Jack soon returns from dropping Alice off at her hotel, then leaves again for more work. While he's gone, Ryan sneaks onto Jack's laptop and discovers that his old friend has over $17 million in the bank. Ryan almost asks him for help but decides to hold off after seeing how miserable Jack seems despite his fortune. The following morning, Ryan makes a horrifying discovery: Jack has taken his own life. Shocked and panicked, Ryan doesn't call the police. Instead, he starts thinking about his own debts. With Jack gone, all that money is just sitting there. Ryan decides to hide the body and find a way to access the fortune. Since he doesn't know Jack's account PIN, he orders a fake ID online, Jack's name with his own photo, that should arrive in a few days. That same day, Rabbit sends another message, this time attaching a photo of Ryan's mother and threatening to harm her if the debt isn't paid soon. Desperate, Ryan promises he'll come up with $50,000 within a week. That night, he disposes of Jack's body in a nearby lake. The next day, Ryan's luck seems to take a darker turn. At the restaurant he visited earlier, the loan shark contacts him again, demanding full payment that very night. Ryan begs for more time, but Rabbit doesn't believe him and promises to show up at Jack's house. When Ryan gets back, a car is already in the driveway. Out step two strangers, Imogen and Maurice. They've never actually met Jack in person, so they mistake Ryan for him. They ask him about preparations for the upcoming dinner, and Ryan, quick thinking and skilled in the kitchen, plays along. He even requests part of the payment up front, hoping to finally clear his debt. For a moment, it feels like his problems are solved. But then Imogen and Maurice explain what's really expected of him. He'll be cooking human flesh for a group of ultra-wealthy clients. Stunned, Ryan realizes that Jack's catering agency was actually a cover for a global organization that traffics in cannibalistic fine dining. The pressure on him is immense. If the meal isn't flawless or if the guests are disappointed, Ryan will be killed. That night, Imogen, already suspicious of him, prevents him from trying to escape. She tells him the next day's guests are willing to pay $500,000 each for a single dinner, and warns him that their network spans the globe. Running isn't an option. Ryan finally understands why Jack couldn't take it anymore. The following morning, Maurice takes Ryan to a nearby church, where they scope out potential victims. They spot a little girl with her grandmother and follow them until the trail goes cold. Soon after, they encounter a young tire repairman. Seeing how healthy and strong he looks, Maurice decides he'll make a perfect ingredient. Pretending his car is broken, Maurice lures the man under the vehicle. Just as he's about to shoot him, the grandmother and girl reappear, this time with a police officer. The officer asks why they're following the family. Maurice, clearly experienced, slips into character, claiming he represents a hotel development company and producing a convincing business card. Back at the house, Imogen questions why they only brought back one body. Maurice explains that he had to hand his business card to the officer, which could raise suspicion. Imogen accepts the excuse, and they take the repairman's body to the basement, where Ryan is ordered to start butchering. She specifically instructs him to remove the tongue, as the guest requested a rare dish requiring that part. Ryan complies reluctantly, his hands trembling as he carves the corpse. Maurice joins him to finish the preparations. Ryan is horrified by what he's become and thinks again about escaping. Later, while trying to flee in Jack's car, Ryan accidentally runs over a gardener. Maurice shows up and Ryan pretends the brakes failed, but Maurice sees through the lie. Ryan admits he wanted to run. To his surprise, Maurice doesn't turn him in to Imogen. Instead, he warns him that escape is impossible. The organization has eyes everywhere, and anyone who's ever tried to run has been hunted down. Defeated, Ryan returns to the kitchen and finalizes the menu. That evening, as the first wealthy guests arrive, Maurice ushers them in while Ryan scrambles to prepare. In the middle of the hectic setup, Imogen is told that 2 police officers are at the door. To keep suspicion away, she makes the decision to let them in. The 2 officers who arrived were Detective Ruiz and Officer Gallo, the same men Ryan and Maurice had crossed paths with earlier that day. Maurice wasn't around at the moment, so Imogen greeted them at the door. Detective Ruiz pulled out a photograph from his pocket and explained that he was searching for the man in the picture. His nephew. The young man in the photo was the very same tire repairman they had murdered that morning. According to police records, both Maurice and Ryan had been seen near the area where the young man disappeared. Ruiz pressed to know Ryan's whereabouts and asked to meet him. The officers were escorted into the kitchen, where Ruiz confronted Ryan directly and asked if he had seen the missing repairman. Struggling to keep calm, Ryan claimed he didn't remember. Imogen quickly stepped in, covering for him, and explained that Ryan wasn't a chef at all but an architect who worked for her real estate company. Ruiz, unconvinced, demanded to see blueprints and a materials list for the supposed hotel they claimed to be building. Ryan stumbled through his answers, vague and unconvincing, which only deepened the detective's suspicion. He decided to remain in the house and wait until he could speak to Maurice as well. Sensing Ryan's nerves, Imogen tried to take control of the situation by offering the officers bowls of soup. Neither Ruiz nor Gallo had any idea that the dish was made from the flesh of the very man they were searching for. As they ate, Ruiz complimented the flavor and asked what kind of meat it was, noting that it had an unusually rich taste. Ryan, barely holding it together, lied that it was a mixture of pork and lamb. Ruiz seemed skeptical but said nothing more for the moment. He asked to use his phone in the corner of the room and began casually throwing more questions at Ryan about architecture. Ryan fumbled and stammered through his responses, his composure quickly slipping, until the sound of new guests arriving in the next room shifted everyone's attention. Before heading out to greet them, Imogen scolded Ryan sharply for not sticking to the cover story properly. Meanwhile, Ruiz continued his probing, this time focusing on Maurice once he finally returned. Ruiz's questions were sharp and pointed, but Maurice, calm and experienced, was able to twist his words into a believable alibi. Eventually, Ruiz and Gallo prepared to leave. One of the wealthy Japanese guests warmly invited Ruiz to stay for dinner, but Officer Gallo excused himself early, claiming he had another commitment. Just when it seemed things were settling, Maurice informed Imogen that an unexpected visitor had arrived, someone asking specifically for Jack. It was Alice. She had shown up unannounced, and though Imogen hoped she would simply leave, Alice lingered. Ryan was stunned to see her and panicked at the timing. She asked casually why Jack wasn't in the kitchen and grew suspicious when she noticed Ryan wearing Jack's watch. Without saying much, she excused herself and left, but Ryan knew the doubt was planted. Meanwhile, one of the high-paying guests wanted to personally congratulate Jack on the outstanding food. He also requested a special dessert, tongue sashimi. Ryan returned to the kitchen, only to realize with dread that the tongue they had prepared earlier couldn't be used because the corpse it came from had herpes. They would need another source of flesh. Almost on cue, Alice reappeared, claiming her car had broken down and asking if someone could call her a taxi. Shortly afterward, Ryan carried the tongue sashimi to the guests. The implication of whose tongue it was couldn't be ignored. Haunted and desperate, Ryan discreetly slipped a message to Detective Ruiz, asking him to meet in the bathroom. There, away from the others, Ryan confessed everything. The meat Ruiz had eaten came from his nephew. Ruiz turned pale, horrified, and rushed to the sink to vomit. Once he regained himself, the two men quickly hatched a plan. Ruiz pretended he was leaving for the night but instead slipped into the basement to meet Ryan. What Ruiz found there shook him to his core. The basement was a slaughterhouse, littered with mutilated bodies and remains from countless victims. He pulled out his phone, intending to call for backup, only to realize with a sinking feeling that it was charging upstairs in the house. His panic made it worse. He couldn't even recall his colleagues' numbers by memory. The only option left was for Ryan to retrieve the phone. Ryan went back upstairs, but his suspicious movements didn't escape Maurice. While Ryan was away, Maurice slipped into the basement and discovered Ruiz. Without hesitation, he fired up a chainsaw and butchered the detective on the spot. When Ryan returned, he found Ruiz lying dead in a pool of blood, and beside him Alice's lifeless body as well. Maurice, calm and detached, told Ryan to clean up the mess, acting as though this was nothing more than routine. After the gruesome cleanup, Ryan found Imogen sitting at her desk, casually drafting emails and falsifying reports to explain the victims' disappearances. She smiled while she worked, and when Ryan asked how she could stomach it all, she explained that the agency was professional and efficient. Their network covered every angle, and with the agency's backing, she felt completely untouchable. The next morning, Ryan lay awake in bed, exhausted and sleepless. Every image of what he had done played over in his head, tormenting him. Imogen walked in to give him news. The clients were thrilled, and the agency had already recommended him as head chef for an even larger event. The salary would be astronomical, she said, and the next dinner would take place in Africa. She also transferred the remaining balance from the night's event into Ryan's account, over $4 million. Before Ryan could process it, Maurice approached him with a syringe and injected something into his neck. He explained that the device would allow the agency to monitor his location at all times. Wherever Ryan went in the world, they would know. There was no escape. Resigned to his new reality, Ryan packed his belongings and was driven away by the same driver who had picked him up when he first arrived. This time, the destination was London, Jack's hometown. Maurice stayed behind to destroy evidence, burning both Jack's and Alice's cars at the airport to erase any connection. At the airport, Ryan sat quietly among other travelers. A man nearby struck up a conversation, complaining about his low-paying job and the awful hotel he had been forced to stay in. He envied Ryan, who, from the outside, looked like a successful chef with money, status, and luxury at his fingertips. But Ryan knew the truth. All the wealth, the fine dining, the elite lifestyle, it meant nothing. He wasn't free. He was trapped in a cage built of blood, guilt, and fear. The film closes on Ryan's face, a man surrounded by luxury yet hollow inside, burdened with the knowledge of what he has done and chained to a life he can never escape. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any of the exciting content coming your way. Every new video is made with you in mind, and I'd love to have you here for the journey. See you in the next one.